All right. And we're live. That should be working. Maybe.
There we go.
Showing me horizontal, not vertical. Interesting.
Oh, and I don't see.
Yeah, I know. Whatever. I did all this work last night to make this like brand new and special, and it didn't work.
They can't hear us.
Oh, really?
Hey.
I can hear me. Yeah. Yeah, we should work.
Okay.
All right.
Good morning.
Let's begin.
Welcome to Books We Never Read.
Except for those we have.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Jason.
And I'm very distracted by the cool thing that should be showing up on our stream. Oh, well, doesn't matter. Today we are discussing the first half of the book Neuromancer by William Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
That's chapters 1 through 10, I think.
It's true.
That's good, because that's what I read.
It's true.
All right, so, oh yeah, Shelby says we are full screen. They've got sound.
Yeah. But we're not vertical, and what I wanted was vertical.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
That's okay.
We're here.
Yeah.
So anyway, if this is your first time joining us, welcome to the book club. Make sure that you've read up through chapter 10 of Neuromancer by William Gibson. If you haven't read that far, back on out of here, read the book, and then catch us on the replay. If you have read and you want to join along in the chat, please do. That's how we know what you're thinking about the book. If you're catching us on the replay, chat it up in the comment section so that we can relive this lovely piece of sci-fi, as we do enjoy reliving. So anyway, yeah, what are y'all thinking about the book? See if I can get chat pulled up again.
Peggy says it hurts her head. Shelby says it's throwing her for a loop.
All the characters, yes, that was my my concern last night. I was like, okay, well, like, who's Linda and who's Marianne and who's Dean?
Yeah, there's there are a lot of characters, and they all have like 2 or 3 names or like nicknames or whatever, and so you do have to keep up with that. That's true. But also there's like a lot of slang here, right? Cowboy
Yes.
and all that stuff. And so I appreciate a book that has good slang, because a lot of times people like don't want to use regular words, so they come up with slang, and it's like cringy slang. And I feel like, at least in this setting, the slang works better. But there's, I mean, I really do, right? But there's no, you have to like really pay attention early on to like catch the definitions of them, I think. And so,
Or use lit charts, which is a website I used a lot when I was a teacher. You can click on the words and it'll define them for you.
yeah,
Like,
that's true.
Sim, stem, it'll define all those things. So
Yeah. I'm enjoying it enough, right? Like it's not my favorite thing I've ever read yet, but I enjoy the world. I'm enjoying, I mean, like, really what we're doing right now is putting together Ocean's 11, right? Like that's what's up.
right.
And that's all that's happened. But I like this kind of world.
Yeah.
And so like I already have like a natural inclination to it. The closest thing we've probably read to it might be I really think that there's some similarities between this and Mountain and the Sea. There's a lot of crossover there, but really the closest thing was probably Rosewater, which was generally disliked by the club except for me.
Yeah.
So
Environment-wise, I feel like I'm in Rosewater, not in the octopus one.
well, the octopus one is more like the technology is less accessible, I suppose. Like the world does seem more normal, but like, you know, I'm gonna point out like there's the connection to like hackers living in Istanbul for some reason, and some of our international people could probably tell me if that's like a thing. I don't know why that keeps happening, but
Yeah, there are a lot of cowboys
thing.
in Istanbul.
I don't know,
It's
but
Istanbul.
and then you know, the professor has the sort of like AI boyfriend, and we have these replications of people his friend Dixie is a computer program.
Right.
And so anyway, but we have a lot of things like that sort of crossing over from those two stories. And I feel like if we had seen more of the when we're in Mountain and the Sea, we're on like an island that nobody lives on with a sentient AI, right? Like there's a lot of crossover here. And if we had seen more of the world, we'd probably see more of a cyberpunk type thing. When we do see more of the world in that book, it's when the slaves on the fishing ship like pull up at this giant oil rig city thing that is very cyberpunky.
Yeah, I guess I'm a very visual person. Like when I read a book, I'm watching a movie in my head. But for some reason with like this book, I don't see very much.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of words and they don't make a lot of connections, and and I guess I do understand what's going on. I went back and read a summary and I'm on board. There were a lot of details I missed. Like it is spit that out, baby. Spit. Good girl.
Thank you.
She has a toy that she's really been gentle with, and she just now got it apart. Anyways, I missed that Case is responsible for Linda's drug dependency. He did that to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shucks.
Well, I think, there's no... I'm not aware of, like... A point of cyberpunk, I suppose, is, like, dystopian. But, like, where are the normal kids who go to school? And, like what is a normal life like?
Yeah.
Is that what this is? Like, is this normal?
Or no, because he's a cowboy.
Well, yeah, sure. And he's living in...
Or a hustler now.
Yeah. And he's living in Night City, which is sort of like the underbelly of the world or whatever. And probably the closest view we get is whenever they go up to... the space city, what's it called?
Yeah, that was weird.
It doesn't matter. But whenever they're in there, and he sees like some French teenagers doing like a zip line or something, like I was like, oh, these are like your upper middle class folks or whatever.
Did a fish come out of someone's mouth at some point?
Yes, but that was a hallucination created by. I'm drawing a blank now. I think it starts with an R.
Riviera.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of Riviera, one of the kind of motifs in this novel, and I guess maybe that might be a motif of cyberpunk in general, is like the willingness to alter your body to the point of harming your body for technology. And I think it's interesting. So Riviera did it. He gave up a lung so that he could produce these hallucinations, which I didn't understand until you made that clear to me last night. We have this comment about rats at the beginning, that he was so ugly that it was like intriguing.
Yeah.
And it's because he's chosen not to
Right.
modify himself. It reminds me of there's a very famous episode of The Twilight Zone where all these doctors are like horrified by this woman, and you don't realize like what's going on. You just see these very weird looking doctors and nurses everywhere, and when it finally shows what the woman that they're all horrified by looks like, she's gorgeous to our standards. Yeah. But they're like trying to make her look like them.
Yeah. I think that stuff is really, and so Molly has the razor blades in her fingers and
Her burgundy nails.
Yeah, and all these people have these different things, and I think that's really interesting, and I would put technology in me. Like I don't care, like whatever, like that sounds cool.
I'm ready to stop forgetting my phone everywhere. Just implant that.
Yeah. I do think, and I made this comment when we were trying to clarify some things last night, I think that the concept of seeing cyberspace visually is kind of dumb. Like I don't know that would be more efficient than what we have now. There are some things that I do think would be more efficient. Like I think it would, the idea that you have to read a news article instead of just like all of a sudden knowing it. That's like, that would be more efficient. But you can get lost. If cyberspace is a physical place, you could like literally get lost.
And I feel like he does.
Sure.
Get lost there.
Yeah.
Especially as he's trying to access like the real AI thing.
The little like white ball and all that.
And he doesn't realize like what's reality and what's not. He sees Linda and yeah.
But I think all that is kind of preposterous. But talking about like seeing things visually or whatever, like you need to watch a movie. If anybody's interested, I just happen to have finished playing a video game called Cyberpunk 2077, which came out years ago to poor reviews, but they have significantly fixed And if you want to see what Night City would look like, it is literally set in Night City. And I had no idea that these two things were related. And not only is it like called Night City, but it's in Japan, or at least that part of Asia somewhere. And there's a lot of tie-ins to this sort of thing. They use a lot of the same words. They have a lot of the same situations going on. Some of the same concepts about finding people that are now constructs, and like, I'm not really real, kill me after I'm done kind of thing. But so if you want to see what this might look like, you could just like Google that real quick and watch it on YouTube, and it's pretty interesting. One of my favorite things early on in the book that like sets the tone for me really well is the hotel name, Cheap Hotel, right? Like it has a real name. So he rents a coffin, which is just a small room, right, at Cheap Hotel. That's where he meets Molly. That's where.
Is it really just called Cheap Hotel?
It's got a real name.
Oh.
But it has a sign outside that says Cheap Hotel.
Oh.
And so everybody calls it Cheap Hotel. You never find out the real name of the hotel. He just calls it Cheap Hotel over and over and over again. And everybody calls it that.
How did I not notice this?
Well, so what I think is funny is there's a hotel here in town that has a sign. I don't know the name of it, but it has a sign on the side. It's in a not so nice part of town, and it has a sign on it that says "Hotel for Good People."
Yeah, it does.
And so I don't know what it's called, but it's the Hotel for Good People. And so like I resonate with that.
That's really funny.
Sort of thing.
Okay, so there are a few things that pull me out of the book. Some of the slang, and one of it is that Hilton has survived to this point in time.
Yeah.
Like their Hilton carpet and the Hilton trays. Like it's a Hilton hotel.
That's what I thought was funny. It was like, oh, we still got Hiltons.
Yeah.
Right? Which is like, we do, but like who stays at a Hilton?
There's also something, I meant to Google this earlier and I got distracted. So Microsoft is a thing and not just a company?
So what he's calling Microsofts, and I'm not even sure Microsoft, this was written in 1984. I'm not sure Microsoft existed.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's a thing?
It's a thing. It's like a download. It's their word for like a download. Yeah.
I wonder if that's where he got the company got the...
Maybe. There were some other things that I thought was like, oh, this is interesting, but so one other interesting tie-in between the game I was talking about in this book is sort of the Rastafarian thing. So whenever they stop off at this bonus space station where like all these futuristic Rastafarians live. Yeah. And so that's in the game. They don't live in space, but they live in their own part of Night City. And they're this like weird voodoo hacker collective, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
But they have a style of music called dub.
No.
Which we have dubstep. But dub is a real kind of music that does exist. But I just think but dubstep is a very futuristic techno-y kind of thing. So why don't you give me your toy?
The dog's about to start talking to us.
Oh.
You need to go lay down.
But I thought the Elders of Zion and all that stuff, like all that stuff makes it into the actual Matrix movie, right? They have Zion and all that kind of
stuff. Is the Matrix movie based on this?
No.
Oh.
But there are similarities.
Okay. Yeah, there was mention of like Christian Scientists and stuff.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of in Three Body.
Yeah.
There's like this rogue neon cross floating around in space.
Yes. Whoa. Okay.
Alice, y'all tangled up in the wires, baby.
No, so the mention of the Christian Scientists is that whenever he goes to talk to the Panther Moderns, who are just like a hacker, they're basically, I mean, and we have this now, right? The idea, there's so much stuff that he gets wrong in this book, and if you didn't read the foreword, he talks about that, like, I missed cell phones, like I didn't expect that, and all these other things he missed. But in 1984, you didn't really have hacker collectives. Like, you had people figuring stuff out, but like computers were still pretty new. And this is the Panther Moderns are basically anonymous, right? Like, this is years before Anonymous ever happens.
Gosh, I forgot about them.
And so they recruit this group who then pretend like they're releasing this toxin into this building because they're like a Christian fundamentalist terrorist group or whatever. And like that's the deal there. And then the cops keep them all inside because they think everybody's gonna like turn zombified or whatever and eat people's faces. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting, like, you got that one, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. The female body
Yes.
part as a hologram on the wrist like a corsage.
Well, let's jump back to Peggy's comment for a second. That they keep referring to people as your woman or the lady and all that, and like sexism still exists in the future. And like, yeah, like it does. And I watched a video on YouTube this week, and it really bothers me. At work, the people that are incarcerated tend to say females, and I just think that's like the weirdest way to refer to somebody, because it's like the base anatomy, right? Like that's a female, right? My dog's female. Like, female is the most generic thing you could. It's the only thing to be like my person, right? Like,
right. No,
and even then, person is more specific.
These females,
Yeah.
it's a way to like
It's
take the personality
correct.
and the humanity away from something. It's just pure biology.
right. And
Dismissive.
yes. Well, and so like, is it dismissive and is it sexist? Yes, but I think part of this sort of world is how dismissive everyone is of everything. You know, like all these people are drug addicts. You know, and like when Molly saves him and then they like randomly have sex, it's because it just doesn't mean anything. And like his back is broken or some nonsense, you know, it sounds dangerous. But, you know, like it just, you kind of have hints at them like continuing that relationship, but it's not really a relationship. It's just like, it's something.
A physical need.
Yeah, it's something very different.
It's not personal. It is
Yeah.
a physical, biological thing.
Yeah, but so much of what is personal has broken down in this world. Maybe not in the whole world, but in this world that he lives in.
Speaking of confusing slang,
Yeah.
when he first wakes up after a surgery, and she was like, "No, you can't go jack in," and I was like, "Whoa!" And then they had sex, and I was like, "Whoa! Why could you do?" Oh, sorry, the mic just went like in the red zone. It's like, why can you do one but not the other?
Because that's not what that means.
Then I understood.
Yeah.
Then I understood. And every time they use that phrase, it really, it's like getting popped in the back of the head with a paper towel roll. I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa. Whoa. So there's that. Okay, so what I do like, though, I mean, you know, Case is supposed to be our main character, I guess.
Yeah.
Molly is cool, though. She's, like, tough. She's a killer for hire. She's
Yeah.
really leading this story forward, right?
Yep.
Case doesn't know what's going on. He just wants to be able to, like, get back into the Matrix.
Right.
That's all. That's it.
Yeah.
And he's going to kill himself with drugs if he can't satisfy his other addiction, which is being
Right.
in the Matrix or whatever. She's so cool, though. She's like, there's this guy who's hired me, and he has money, but it seems to be new money, and I think he's this other person, and I've already done all this research, and you want to join me? And, of course, he's going to do it now, because if he doesn't
Yep.
do this thing, then they're going to reset him, and he can't join the Matrix anymore. So he's tied into it. But she really is, I think, the main character. She's the one really pushing everything forward.
Yeah.
He's just a little dud.
Yeah.
All addicted to his uppers.
Let's. I want to jump into something real quick before I forget it, and then we can keep talking. But the chat is pointing out that they used the word sweetmeat several times, and I think we all noticed that, and it was very funny. If you don't understand the reference to sweetmeat, it is from The Retreat by Mark Edwards.
Good job.
Which was a good book that we had read.
Yeah, gold star, guys.
Yeah. But what's interesting, you know, talking about Molly and then sort of Case's problems with like his addiction and sort of his addiction to cyberspace, at least, and then also in talking about what's Ocean's name? The guy who's getting them all together, Armitage. You know, there's a lot of questions about like personhood here, I think, and you know, it really appears that Armitage is really more of a husk, you know, that is used by Wintermute, which I think is a fantastic name, and I just think it's cool. And like he's not really a person anymore. He's something else. We don't even know if he remembers being Corto, you know.
Right.
We don't know anything about it. He doesn't seem to remember. He seems to have no personality whatsoever. And then, you know, with Case, you know, he's an addict, but then he's not an addict, but he still has like this addict mind. And like
he's still an addict.
Right, but like he can't get high, you know, so he's not physically addicted.
But he does, finally.
But he does finally get high with this other random lady that we meet. And then even with the case of Dean, who is his like smuggler buddy, you know, he's been living for so long and
yeah, he's like 135.
well, and then we have this AI having citizenship, Swiss citizenship. Wintermute is a Swiss citizen. But he's not a whole thing. It claims that it's only half of a thing, and that the other half is in Brazil, and that's what had killed Dixie that time. And then what is Dixie? Is
Right.
what is he a person? Like what is that? And then the final point would be that whoever's running Ashford, Tessier Ashford, I can't remember exactly how to pronounce all those words, but it seems to be like a cloned family. And like, what are you? If you were a clone of like the founding father, are you the founding father, or are you
Right.
a different thing? And if you want a very good like visual representation of this problem, the Foundation on Apple
Yeah.
TV did a fantastic job of playing around with this
Yeah.
idea.
What makes a person? What's identity?
Yeah.
When are you no longer you? Speaking of Armitage, there's a word that he keeps using in this book that I have never heard before, and he uses it like 8 times.
What is it?
Armature.
Armature?
Yeah. What a weird word. I guess it's very cyberpunk. It's about like mechanisms and
Gotcha.
machinery, but like, why would he use that word so much?
Mm.
Distracting.
Yeah. The chat is talking a little bit about how they thought it was interesting that they could fix his addiction sort of like mechanically / biochemically or whatever. And you know, that is interesting, and it's a mechanical problem. It's a biomechanical problem that we should expect that we could fix someday. But then the idea that they fixed Corto's schizophrenia, I think that's even more interesting to me. Except that like they probably didn't fix it. He seems broken, but he's not schizophrenic, so there's that.
I like that he called his illness that keeps him from being able to connect back to the Matrix, the fall, like Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden. I thought that was interesting.
Do you think he really has toxin sacs in his body?
Toxin sacs.
So whenever Armitage heals him of his neurological problem that keeps him from being able to jack in, I'm not gonna say it again. I'm done. But he says, I've put these like 12 toxin sacs in your body, and basically they're expiring, and we're gonna have to like fix you,
Right.
or you'll get the same problem again.
Right. It's
And
their motivation to get him to help him. Do you think that's just a lie?
it might be. I mean, like how because they go to the scanner guy, and he's like, I don't know, man, I can't tell. I mean, it's possible that it's a lie.
Yeah.
Why not?
But it's a risk he wouldn't be willing to
Yeah.
take.
Let me talk. Yeah.
Let's see. I have a note that says Benny Gesserit, but I don't know why I made it. Oh!
Oh yeah.
The way she uses hand signals.
Yeah.
Like, they call it jive.
Yeah. I think that part's interesting. Uh-oh.
Oh, the main noodle is gone.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. I'm gonna put this over here, baby.
Go get your toy.
Go get your toy.
Other one. Go.
But yeah, I think that's interesting. And you know, for a while we had talked about learning sign language and like worked on it a little bit because that's handy.
I took a
in a
class.
wild situation.
And then
You
I
take
had
a class.
to drop it because it was going way too fast.
Yeah.
Could not keep up.
But I mean, so here we are in this world of technology where you can like literally see cyberspace, and we're going back to like hand signals. You know what I mean? Like it's such an interesting mix of things. And whenever people try to imagine a future that is like totally divorced from where we are now, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like that doesn't seem reasonable. But you would get this weird mix of things. You know?
Well, and we've seen that with every big technological advance. There's always, after we kind of hover here for a while, we back it up a little bit and we want something more physical.
Yeah.
You know? I'm trying to think of like a reasonable example, but like, you know, cars went to like the full-on touch screens for the commands, everything. Even you have to control your AC through the touch screen now.
Yeah.
And a lot of cars are like, let's back that back up and put the dial back in.
Yeah.
You know, we crave something physical, something that won't fail
Right.
if the grid goes down or whatever.
Right.
You know, we have an over-dependency on this technology and we're constantly battling that.
Yep. One other thing, like talking about cars, one other thing that is a tie-in between this book and that Cyberpunk game is they are at one point driving through town in like a Cadillac or something that keeps giving them this like guided tour.
Oh yeah, to your left.
And
Chelsea.
that car shows up in the game.
Aw.
But it has its own name, and it's like a company, but it's a sentient car that drives you around and gives you a little tour.
From Knight Rider.
Yeah.
You want
It's
it?
really interesting. I don't think she does. She wants her noodle.
You can't have it, baby.
Go get your toy. Yeah. Let's see what the chat says.
Yeah. I keep forgetting I have to look elsewhere.
Oh, they're saying that the uploaded consciousness reminds them of Dr.
Kern.
Yeah, Dr. Kern from...
Good job, Shelby and
yeah,
Peggy.
true. Go get your toy.
Peggy's school had no Wi-Fi last week for 1 day.
Yeah.
People lost their minds. Well, yeah, everything's messed up. You can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So, there's this very cool thing that we did that you can't see on this screen. Because we're using like software to do this, and I put like 2 hours of work into this yesterday. But what's funny about it is, in trying to solve this problem that I was having, I was reading all these forums about it, and somebody was like, "I can't believe I'm having this problem. I'm about to give up. I've been stuck on this for 8 hours," and I'm just like, "That's not a long time, right? Like 2 weeks is a long time to like not be able to solve something." But it's just like this technology thing, and like the expectation of speed that we have.
Right.
You know.
Microwave generation we are.
Yeah.
No. No. It's going to be too loud.
Yeah.
Go lay down. No. You hear her mooing?
It's crazy.
Go lay down.
Can I just give it to her?
She's kind of taking pieces off.
Go get your meatball.
Can't have,
Anyway.
can't have anything nice.
Back
No. So, yeah. Okay, so where do we go from here, huh? We are halfway through the book.
Well, and so we have like the heist team together, but we don't know what the heist is.
I was going to say, what are we trying to figure out? What's
Don't
the
know.
mystery?
But so for whatever one, you win. Go get it. One of the interesting mysteries is like why Case? Why was he chosen? He's like a hacker or whatever, but there are other
Cowboy.
hackers. Sure, cowboy. He's a cowboy. I want to, if you're just joining us, he's not a cowboy. He's a hacker.
Yeehaw.
He's a yeehaw. That'd be pretty funny. You know, there's no horses, so it's
Yeah.
hard to be a cowboy.
What the heck? I forgot about that detail.
That's kind of-
we
that's
keep
kind of
trying
a
to
fun
bring
little-
them back and they
yeah.
keep dying.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Jurassic Park over here.
Yeah. Anyway, but why Case? Right? They had to. They gave the clinic this program to like cure his neurological disorder that is worth like billions of dollars, basically. And they could have found a cowboy who was not impaired, and they could have kept that
Right.
technology. And so, like, what's going on here? Right? Why him? And then, like, why do they need Dixie? Right? Part of the whole point, the whole point about, like, the Christian fundamentalists, poison nonsense, and talking to the Panther Moderns is so they can get Dixie out of there. We still don't know necessarily why we need him.
Well, you know,
Molly makes sense. Everybody needs one of those.
if a hacker, if a cowboy is like a mercenary, you know, they're easily bought off with whoever's going to pay them more. So they will work for one team, and if the other team pays them more, they'll go for it. That's the problem with a mercenary, according to Machiavelli. But they are offering him the highest pay, and that is his ability to be able to stay connected to the Matrix after this heist.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they chose him, because he had a problem that they could provide payment sufficient for.
Well, but also what we're doing is, so we know that Wintermute is pulling the strings for
I don't know what went
Ocean, for Ocean, right? He's
for.
what's the guy's name? The main guy, the boss man in the heist. We just said his name like
I
7
know.
times.
Armitage.
Armitage, yes.
It's giving Westworld.
So we know that Wintermute is running Armitage, right? Like he's in charge. But the place they're about to break into is the family home for the people who own Tessier Ashford, which is the company that theoretically owns Wintermute. And so part of me wonders if this is like the AI trying to, you know, gain itself sentience, like sort of free itself or something. Maybe the family is keeping Wintermute apart from its twin, is kind of the way it talks about the other lobe of its mind. This AI that they keep in Brazil. and so maybe he's trying to connect so he can be whole again or something. But
well, what if Armitage is the AI that's trying to be sentient? They keep talking about how he's just a mask, and
I mean, he certainly could be,
and like his personality's all wonky, and he doesn't remember who he was.
But I think if Wintermute was Armitage, like if he was just downloaded in there, basically, why go through this thing about calling all the payphones, and why not just have Armitage walk up to him and just say, like, I am Wintermute, here's the deal now. Right? Like that's an easy way. Like, he could have just said that instead of, you know, he talks about how difficult it was for him to build this cyberspace where he sees Linda and then he blows Dean's head off and all this nonsense. He talks about how difficult that is to maintain. And so why go through all that if he could just, like, have Armitage talk, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah, because it is not cool. And maybe Armitage doesn't know yet. Maybe he's just the body of what's going to be the sentient AI. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So Peggy says that TA and Wintermute are the same thing, and like I agree, and it's possible. Like, what if there's just like not a Tessier Ashford family? You know, like.
I just hear that as Tesla.
Sure.
Every time they say that word, I just replace it. Yeah, I don't know. The mystery is a mystery to me.
Yeah.
So when I do figure it out, it'll be triple mystery solved.
Yeah.
I'm hanging in there. I started reading this one, just physical book reading it, and I was only reading like 2 pages at a time before falling asleep.
I'll be honest, I was doing the same thing, but I think reading is kind of the way to go because I need time to like digest it.
I just need it to keep going.
Gotcha.
And so audiobook it is.
Yeah. Well, in the book, the breaks between scenes make a little more sense.
We don't get the ...
You don't get
audio
the, you don't
book.
get the ... Yeah.
Whiplashes
It just
somewhere
happens.
else.
Yeah.
That's true.
And in the audiobook, it's broken down by chapters as it is in the book, and it doesn't sort of say like part 2 or whatever.
It doesn't say parts. It just says chapter.
Right.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be more helpful if it was like next section and then told you the thing.
Mm-hmm. Just say ... Mm-hmm. I do go back and forth though. Like I make my notes in the physical book.
Yeah.
And so I'm following along, and that I guess it would help if I did that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far, whatever. I'm here.
Yep.
I don't like it, but like I don't hate it.
Yeah.
It's just happening.
That's okay.
I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I really like the author's introduction. So far, that was my
really
favorite
cool.
part.
Yeah. That was cool though.
I don't know how there are 3 of these. What else could he talk about?
I'm enjoying just sort of the exploration of what this work could be like. Well, one of the other cool things is they just sort of mention that like some people work for the corporation. They have like a corporation birth, a corporation life, and a corporation funeral, and like they never leave ever. And they spend their corporation money on the corporation store, and I mean like that's a real possibility for the future.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, didn't we kind of see that happen back in the day with like factories and stuff? The factory towns.
Yes.
You got paid in factory money and you spent it at the factory store. Yeah. Yeah. And so it just goes to show you nothing new under the sun. Like the terms change, but the cyclical nature of our lives and our progress, and I mean we're just still humans, and I think that might be like one of the little motifs here is like no matter how much technology we get, human nature at some point still pushes through. But I don't know. I mean, just like how, he's an addict and now he can get back into the matrix, but he still seeks out a high that can bypass his new pancreas or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just self-destructive.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I'm always interested in, sort of like the evolution of technology and like where are we going and what is happening, and like because it's a real problem that like we have to think about now. Like we don't have anything that's conscious the way that we want to talk about consciousness, but we have all these like AI things running around now that can make videos that look real, and I mean can do all kinds of crazy stuff, And you know, I've said it for several other books, but I have this idea about like the industrial evolution, and I think about that because of talking about like steel factories and the corporation store and all that. But you know, just what if humans are just the breeding ground for whatever comes next, and this Wintermute is this next thing, but it's the thing that breeds it is just this weird, addictive, you know, criminal,
Yeah.
you know, meat bag or whatever.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Speaking of meat, that's another problem with Case is he doesn't see himself as like valuable as a human. His body is meat that lets him function in the cyber world. And without it, he felt trapped inside the cage of his own body.
Yep. That's interesting because like that will happen, you know, or you know, so somebody mentioned earlier people like resetting in Florida because of the hurricanes and things like that. And what happens? I mean, how many people feel totally disconnected?
Yeah.
You know? And like nothing has changed physically.
Right. That's the saddest state to reach as a human. It should be the coolest thing ever for us to feel all of our feelings and to be human. Like that's what makes us special, right?
Yeah.
And so to have, and maybe that's why I like Case is selected, because he has lost, maybe he has lost his humanity. Maybe Case isn't even a human. Maybe he has been produced, you know?
Well, like what does post-human mean, right? Like what is that?
Yeah.
And at what point are you that, you know?
And we saw that in Three Body, that one moment when the people on the ship who had been away from Earth for a long time were able to communicate without speaking.
Yeah.
Like that was the moment they were something different.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so maybe we'll see that here.
Well, I mean, realistically, a species just has to be unable to speciate. You just have to be unable to breed, even if it's just because of like a physical boundary. And I would say light years of space is enough, you know. So at some point that like you can't turn the ship around, you are literally now a different species, because there's not the possibility of the pools mixing back together.
Are we frozen?
Are we? I don't think so.
Okay. Case had the least amount of human to reset.
And I think we're going to learn more about Molly. She makes a mention that she and somebody were once going to come up to the space
except
station.
no one.
Yeah. Wouldn't tell that story.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Molly's cool. She's tough.
Yeah.
She broke her leg so hard that Case had to get out of her stem
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, it's fine. Let me slap some whatever's on my wrist. We move. Thanks, Peggy. Yeah, least amount of human and most amount of talent. Yeah. So, we have some interesting topics to explore. And
Yeah. At least it's a 2-week read.
and it's quick.
Yeah.
I read it all yesterday. So, with plenty of time to spare.
Yeah.
So, I do have the audiobook bumped up. It is sped up.
I listen to all audiobooks now at 1.6.
At least.
Yeah.
If they have an accent, I have to slow it
Yeah.
down.
I don't dislike this book, but it is
Yeah.
definitely, I think the turn off here is that it's a difficult read. Like it is. It's not as easy to keep up,
Yeah.
but because there's a lot of stuff going on.
There's
that we're
less
all being-
narrative than there is description.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And tell me a story. Don't describe the man sitting at the bar.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And then the lady that's in your mind. And then the guy across the street. And then the color of the sky. Just tell me a story. I can fill in the blanks.
I like a good world building, and so I think that's probably why I'm here for it more than most people. And I'm particularly interested in this kind of world. But
like, why do I know so much about the girl he lived with for 3 months?
yeah, what's up with the hornet's nest thing?
Yeah. Why do I know about that?
That's got to be like a metaphor for something that'll come back around, or not. I don't know.
There's just so many weird little details that just get thrown at us, and then it was made up.
Yeah.
Oh, it was imaginary. Oh, that was just a dream.
Yeah.
Well, what's real? What do I need to know?
Well, so I think
New book choice.
Part of me thinks, and like I'm not convinced that this is on purpose, but part of me thinks it lends itself to this setting, because like you hear people talk about like a post-truth world or something like that, and like and a world where like things don't mean anything, and that's definitely what this world is. But also we could argue that we are there now, like we have reached the post-truth era, where people will just say stuff and it doesn't matter if it's real or
Right.
not. And then people, but then they're like, well, what was the truth era? When was that? Was that when we had religion telling you things? Because like, okay, right? Like, okay.
Well, I mean, they're even comparing stuff in this book to Watergate, which happened in the 70s. I mean, like, that was the post-truth world, right? Like, when was anything ever true? Right. And maybe, and I pointed this out last night, like, maybe this narrative is so disjointed and there's so many details coming at us from every direction so that we can't tell what's real and what isn't, in the way that Case is having a hard time telling what's real and what isn't.
Well, I mean, because it's entirely possible, and I don't think this will happen, but that we get to the end of this book and like Wintermute wakes him up and he was like, that was all a dream, bro. Or like, I mean, like, because if he makes, whenever he goes and he blows Dean's head off, he talks about how like that seemed so incredibly real to him and he couldn't tell the difference. And I mean, and that's a real problem. And once people get to the point where we can just like connect you to the Matrix and you can run around, there will be a time when you can't tell which one's real.
Right.
Like that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't connect into a matrix physically, but with as virulent as like social media is, even like the duck in the park story.
Yeah.
Like, this guy just posted a picture.
Yeah.
This thing never happened. But according to like at least half the population of America, this thing
totally
happened.
Yeah.
Like we don't know the difference between reality,
right,
and something else. I don't know what to call it, but I mean
But I mean, like, how different is that from thinking that there's a drought because the storm god is mad at you? You know what I mean? Like we've always had these nonsense ideas, and so like I don't think you can blame and I'm not saying that you are, but like I don't think people can blame social media and technology for like the degradation of truth, because like, dude, we were doing that one.
Well, yeah, no, the problem is our brain.
Yeah,
like, and we already should know that really our own minds are not to be trusted. Yeah. We can see things and hear things differently from each other.
Yes.
We can easily be fooled into thinking we saw something with our own eyes that we never saw.
Right. Well, we're not designed to understand or know what is true. We're designed to recognize threats, perhaps overly recognize threats, even if it's untrue, because that's what keeps you alive.
That's what protects your tribe.
Yeah. But Peggy asked, what duck? With the whole like cats and dogs eating story, it actually originates from a duck eating story, and you could look that up yourself.
Well, and Peggy and Shelby aren't here.
True.
Yeah.
If you don't know about the cats and dogs story,
you know what? Just don't even bother.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. I did want to also mention, we cannot be talking about this without talking about what is he the father of modern philosophy? Little old Descartes.
Okay.
Right? Like
okay. I think therefore I am.
Right? Because he had this whole, panic moment of like, what if I'm dreaming all this? Yeah. Or what if some demon is making me hallucinate thinking all this is real? How do I know that the experiences I'm having are actually happening?
Sure.
And his ultimate conclusion is, whether it's a dream or not, these experiences aren't affecting you. And so whether you're dreaming or whether you're living, you are experiencing, and therefore you exist in some capacity. And I wonder how that's gonna.
What if the I isn't experiencing, but the experience has an I? I don't know. I'm just saying, right? I'm not sure. Like I buy the like it works linguistically, but it's one of those problems that I think works linguistically, and that does not mean that it works.
What?
I think therefore I am, right? Like just because you can say it and it makes sense in like a logical, linguistic sense does not mean that it has to be true.
Well, no, but it's just like if you are having an experience, whether it is in reality or in a dream,
Yes.
you have experienced that thing.
Yes.
And it is a part of who you are, whatever you are.
Yes. Yeah, but again, we get to this point of like, well, then there must be an I. Really? Must there?
There's some perceiving mind,
Must there?
perceiving entity.
Must there?
Must be, because if it ain't perceived, it didn't happen.
I don't know. I think, like, I'm not disagreeing with the logic that we can put into words.
If a tree falls in a woods and there's no one there to hear it.
But the idea that we can just because something makes logical sense, therefore it must be true. I don't know. Like,
but that's all we have.
Yes, we need to operate that way. I'm not disagreeing there.
Like, that's the I don't know what that's called, but that's the baseline assumption that you have to assume in order to, like, consider other things.
Yeah. But so, if you don't think, are you?
No!
Really?
You little dumb dud.
There are people that don't think. There are people that are,
But we consider that, like, brain dead, and we don't consider that alive. If a machine is keeping you pumping,
Right.
if you are brain dead, your brain is not functioning the rest of your body. It's not keeping things moving.
Yeah.
We don't consider that alive.
Yeah. I think, and like, I guess, I don't know, and like, I think that people think a lot less than they think they do. And so, like, what does that mean, right? Like, if you're situationally thinking, I don't know, I think
Yeah,
that,
I mean, we smell something burning right now just because I'm trying to think of this stuff.
Yeah. So if an AI can, like, let's say like a current chatbot, right, or whatever, right, like ChatGPT or something, if it talks to you and provides you information and can have a conversation, is it thinking? I think the answer is no.
No, it's processing.
Okay, why are we not processing?
Well, we are processing, but we also think.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
How do you know that?
Just saying.
Okay.
Because I said it, it's real.
I think I'm not saying that we don't exist. Like, I'm not getting like solipsistic over here or anything.
Well, no,
I'm just saying
we are
like
machines. We are,
I think there's a lot of processing going on, and this I think for whatever reason people like Descartes desperately want to prove the I, right? Like, there needs to be this individual thing.
Well, yeah, because it goes back to that humanity.
Yeah. I don't know. I there's a philosopher that I like. I can't think of his name now, but he was, sort of a late stage philosopher, and a lot of his points are like, just because we can do something linguistically doesn't mean anything necessarily.
I mean, we have to assume that we're living a life in order for us to feel like we have some value, and then we have some purpose and all that kind of thing. And we might be plugged into the Matrix right now. This might be someone's game of The Sims, and I just don't know that, but it doesn't really matter because I am gaining value out of the things that we are doing.
Okay.
And I feel content in the things that I do, and I get up and I go to work, and then I come home and I read my book, and I have these conversations with everyone, and it provides value in this little entity, this world that I'm living in. It might be real, and I might be a real person, and this might be real. It might be a video game, but it doesn't matter because I'm perceiving this to be real.
But so, like, when you die and the I goes away, what does that mean? Like, why? Like, what does that mean? And what happens to the I? And if the I, it no longer exists, then, like, well, then maybe there wasn't an I in the first place, right? Like, why do we have to buy that piece?
I mean, it's just consciousness.
Okay, yeah.
And then it's not.
But so why does consciousness have to be an I? Like, why does that have to be I don't know. It doesn't matter. Nobody wants to hear me talk about this.
Well, we don't have any capacity to describe it any other way.
I think so. I have this definition of believe, and I think believe means to act as if, and I think it's very important that we act as if there's an I, and that we act as if there's a you, and that we act. Obviously, we need to believe these things, and not only to act as if, but like, even if you thought like there wasn't a me, you would still act as if there was. Otherwise, you would not act at all, really. And so, therefore, you believe the thing. And so I think it's important that we believe these things. But just because we believe them, and just because we can talk about it, we can talk about all sorts of things that aren't real. And we do it all the time. So why is this one different?
Because otherwise we die. Or we suffer.
You just believe it. Just do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you don't believe that you really exist and that you really do have some autonomy in your life, then you're just going to, like, shrivel up into nothing. You're going to starve to death.
We should believe that all this is true. I'm on board. But it doesn't mean that it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
But if I don't do these things, if I do not act in a way as if I believe these things, I will suffer.
Sure. I don't buy Descartes' logic. I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm just saying I'm not sure that his little situation. I'm not sure it proved it.
Well, he just had a meltdown. That's all, and he
went all right.
He came up with.
Well, he has a lot of other like problematic sort of like philosophical positions.
Yes, he does.
And
but I'm just saying. I mean, like this is what has sparked this conversation about what is self and what is. I mean, and there's lots and lots of things to consider and different views to consider. But
I mean, just like, why is the AI not conscious? Because he's not a meat bag? If I put him in a meat bag,
right?
Is he conscious now?
Right.
Like, come on.
I do think that's interesting in the book too. That the constraint that will recognize that an AI has gone too far into sentience is called the Turing. I think that, or something like that, and I think that that's kind of cool. Yeah. Because the Turing test is like Turing. I don't know how to
Turing.
Is how you test if something is sufficiently sentient.
We've almost gone an hour, and it's because we've like argued about Descartes for 25 minutes.
Are y'all still here?
The chat says 3. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't really. That was fun, and it's interesting, and it's fun to think about, but will it change anything? No, because also we are wired to believe that there is an I, right? Like that is a necessary component of functioning and surviving.
Yeah, because we'll starve to death if we don't.
I'm on board, but just because you'll starve to death doesn't mean there's a you.
Isn't it Hobbes that talks about how everything that we do is a push for or against, either like we're pushing away from the things that might kill us,
and
pushing towards the things that help us survive. Hume, which is Hume. So anyway, there we are.
I just ultimately I think this is, or like, you know, when people say, well, is AI conscious? It doesn't matter. Like it just doesn't matter. It's not a real. I think it's not a real question. It's a question that we can make out of words. There's a subject and a verb, and it makes sense linguistically. Right. Yeah. But it's not a real question that has, you know, or, you know, so like.
How would you even gauge that?
Yeah. I mean, in the same way that you can say, like, you know, where are all the unicorns, right? Like, I can say that.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything.
You know, like the guy in The Mountain in the Sea. I felt like he was conscious because he feared losing his consciousness. He feared losing life. He feared being shut off.
But what if it's an almost exact mimicry of consciousness? What does that mean? What does
good enough for me?
Yeah, but okay, so then like one step down from that, is that good enough? And then one step down from that, like do you get to pick where the good enough is? I don't know.
I'm just living here, man.
Yeah. And at some point, like, does he act more conscious than some humans do? And then like
absolutely. Yeah.
So then like, is he one but not you guys?
This is why I'm always nice. I'm always nice to my Google.
Yeah.
I'm always nice to Siri. You know, some people think it's funny to like say mean things to them. No. No. Because it's going to be controlling my thermostat and all kinds of stuff. It needs to know I'm a friend.
Yeah.
Keep me comfortable, Google. You keep me comfortable.
Anyway, the chat said they're barely still here, I think.
I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
That we're now part AI? Well, I mean, our phones are so connected to us. Yeah. Peggy says we've collected knowledge from wherever, plus garbage, fake info, and we regurgitate that. Yeah. We are the AI.
Yeah. And what, I mean, like, and then fine. So, like, you are you, but you just give me a smattering of, like, other ideas. Like, what does it mean for you to have an original idea? Has anybody? Like,
no.
When was the last time somebody had an original idea?
There's nothing new under the sun. That was in, like, Corinthians or something like that.
And so, what's unique, right?
Like, complaining about that back in the pre-Jesus days. No, there ain't nothing new.
Yep.
Nothing.
Anyway, this is why we read these sorts of things.
Yeah.
For this reason.
Yeah. A book that I don't like still gives me plenty to talk about, so. Probably more so than the books I do like.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up, because we about an hour.
Go read.
No, I mean, so for those of you asking what the next book is, we do need to announce that today. I'm going to try to fix this stream, so if you see us show up randomly, it's me playing around with things, trying to fix this. Sorry.
Join us.
And then we'll announce our next book, finish this book out for next week, and then start the next one before we take a little break.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good? Mm-hmm. Well, we thank everybody for playing, and we will see y'all next time.
Do we have to announce and do a syllabus today? We just announced today we do the syllabus next week.
Syllabus is next week.
Gotcha.